Well, good morning, friends. Welcome to Wake Up in the Word. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Hey, grab a good stiff cup of coffee and join me over in Revelation chapter 13. We're going to introduce yet another character from the book, one that we will perhaps see already at work, even though we don't know his identity. And when I say his identity, remember a lot of imagery is at work here in Revelation. We've already seen a beast in the first 10 verses of Revelation 13. That represents an empire, a worldwide empire. No, that is not the Antichrist. It is not a person. It's a kingdom full of persons. And at the head of that kingdom are several horns, as expressed in Daniel 7. And among them is a little horn that rises up that is that man of lawlessness expressed in the New Testament. So the imagery can sometimes be confusing if you let folks just throw it around without matching your metaphors. But we know this is a worldwide kingdom. It is a beast that's stretching its tentacles all over the world, trying to control the people. And at the center of this controversy, we now have another key player stepping on stage. We find that person in verse number 11, where it says, "Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. He had two horns like a lamb, but he sounded like a dragon." So here's something that looks like a wonderful religion, let's say. Oh, religions of the world, aren't these just special little groups of people? And don't they do wonderful things to help out humanity? That's what we tend to think of when we think of a religion. But oh, not this one. It has two horns like a lamb, looks like a lamb, but speaks like a dragon. Now, we already know what the dragon metaphor represents. It represents Satan himself. So what religion is already speaking like a dragon? And when you classify religions, have you even missed classifying our new secularism that calls for the worship of man as the highest form of evolutionary being, or anything else that rejects God? Have you considered this a religion? Have you considered their gatherings in stadiums or on college campuses or marching up and down the streets as religious events? My friends, that's exactly what the ancients did, who worshipped Baal and Asherah and Isis and Molech. Yes, they would march and gather in the streets and declare their allegiance along with their perverted actions. They declare their allegiance to their God and their willingness to go out and, as an act of worship, actually kill those who disagreed with them or worshiped another god. So with that thought in mind, I want to just read to you part of an article by Victor Davis Hanson that's in the Epoch Times in this past week. It's entitled "One Sick War," if you want to look it up. And again, not reading all of it, but some of his conclusions. Listen carefully. He said, Hamas started the conflict by sending death squads of 2,000 killers into Israel at a time of peace to surprise murder more than 1,000 Israeli civilians. There was no pre-civilizational, unspeakable atrocity that the butchers didn't commit. Torture, beheadings, rape, mutilation, and necrophilia. The terrorists were followed into Israel by a multitude of opportunistic Gaza civilians, who in turn joined in the violence and the looting. Back in Gaza, crowds reviled and tried to harm Israeli captives bound as hostages to trade for jailed terrorists in Israel. In sum, the population that once elected Hamas into power and cheered on its bloodletting, as long as there was no Israeli response, now claims to have no connection at all with Hamas. Yet the world assumes correctly that the people of Israel are inseparable from its military. The surreal paradoxes of this war still do not end there. In its mass murdering spree on October 7th, Hamas butchered more than 30 American citizens, and perhaps another 13 still are unaccounted for and are likely hostages inside the tunnels of Hamas in Gaza. Yet the Biden administration has not forced Hamas to return kidnapped Americans, much less responded to its killing of U.S. citizens. Why then, despite all the rhetoric of solidarity, is the United States constantly pressuring Israel to be measured in its retaliation against the Hamas terrorists in Gaza, pressure that will only make things easier on Hamas. Why are we seeking to restrain those who are trying to destroy the killers of Americans and indirectly aiding those who murdered them? And why is the global elite community siding with the murderous aggressors and not seeking justice for the murdered? Well, lots of reasons. There are 500 million Arabs in the world and nearly 2 billion Muslims, but only 9 or so million Israelis. Nearly 50% of the world's oil reserves are found in the Muslim Middle East. Westerners, though, like tiny Israel, are considered too rich and powerful, while non-Westerners are romanticized as blameless, victimized underdogs. The best way of understanding this sick war is that Israelis are Jews, and the ancient plague of anti-Semitism is again sweeping the globe. Hanson, you nailed it. And where did that come from? Well, we saw it in Revelation chapter 12. The anger that the dragon has against the woman, against Israel, and specifically a virgin of Israel named Mary who gave birth to a Messiah, continues to rage to this day. It has never stopped. It's been calmed down at times and always hidden under the surface until he could make it explode once again. And that hatred continues to flail at those who are a part of the Israeli heritage, the Jewish heritage, as well as, we found at the end of chapter 12 of Revelation, all those who keep God's commands and have the testimony about Jesus. So if you think because you're a Christian you escape anti-Semitism, oh, far from it, my friends. As long as you stand with them and with the people of God, you also are an enemy. So what do we have popping up here in the middle of Revelation 13? We have a religion. It's a strange religion because it binds the religion of Antichrist, Islam, with the strange Western secular religion that says worship our new worldwide government, fall in line with the Green Kingdom and its policies. And these two strange bedfellows are able to stay together because of one thing. They have a common enemy. Oh yes, if we have a common enemy, then I'm your friend long enough for us to destroy that enemy. So this religion unites the world against Christians and Jews. It's something that is beastly, sure enough. And this particular beast that rises from the earth exercises, it says in verse 12, all the authority of the first beast on his behalf, and compels the earth and those who live on it to worship the first beast whose fatal wound was healed. So hey, this global connection here is being pushed. And it's being pushed in the most unlikely of places. In the United Nations, for example, with a human rights council that's supposed to speak up about atrocities in the world, what does the UN do but put an Iranian, that's right, an Iranian at the head of that council? What is Iran doing trying to tell the rest of the world what's right and wrong when it comes to how you treat people? And how do you think that council is referring to Israelis? Well, of course, they are the evil ones. It's an apartheid state, a colonized state. It's anything you can say bad about a group of people is being said about the Jews today, inflaming more and more of the rhetoric. And the organizations just like Hamas, these multiple terrorist organizations that I believe are exemplified by Psalm 83 in that list, these terrorist organizations that say we must destroy Israel and remove any remembrance of her from the earth. Oh, friends, they're all uniting right now in front of our faces. And that's why they march not just in areas of the Middle East. Oh no, matter of fact, some of the largest marches and protests and support, these are acts of worship, my friend. This worship is being demonstrated all around us in some of our largest cities. What's going on? It's that same ancient battle. Remember, this particular false prophet, it says, is sounding like a dragon. The dragon, Satan, here we go. His objectives, his purposes are all being proclaimed by a brand new religion that's coming together right in front of our eyes. It pulls together many ancient religions and views, but they all have one thing in common. They hate the people of God. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. Please join us as we wake up in the Word and get ready for the great conflict that's going to get even worse as it's coming upon us in these next days. Hey, God bless you. You have a great day in the Lord. I'll see you right here tomorrow when we wake up in His Word.